A man dies in his world of origin and reincarnates as a fantasy world, where he is the teacher of a young girl, Biskin. A flashback showing how the sword died is presented, and how he reacts, being reincarnated in an alternative world, but as a sword mounted for a brief moment. A voice inside the sword's head informs that he is about to have an incredible time and then disappears. Despite wanting more answers, the sword considers the voice as a hallucination and realizes that if he is in a history of ISK, he would have special skills. Without wasting time, he takes his menu to see his and discovers that it is an intelligent weapon. In addition, the sword praises his skills and abilities. He then notices that his design looks like a sword that you would find at the end of an RPG. At that moment, a small group of goblins tries to take him off his pedestal. Caused by the goblins, the sword uses its telekinesis ability to kill some of them immediately. By doing this, the sword manages to cut a crystal inside one of the goblins, allowing it to absorb its power without knowing it. After the group of goblins was completely defeated, the sword opened its menu again to menu, noting that it has accumulated 3 out of ability spaces with some new abilities after defeating the goblins. Realizing that he can absorb the abilities of his defeated enemies, notifying him that he has 10 ability spaces available, and then asks if he would like the sword stabs the corpse of a goblin and absorbs its crystal, thus absorbing its 2 abilities. Then the sword uses its excavation ability to bury the bodies of the group of goblins and places itself in its sword support. Anxious to absorb more crystals and gain new abilities, the sword also hopes that one day it will get a worthy master to stab it. On the other hand, a young black girl with the appearance of a cat works under the orders of her slave merchant master, and internally notes her desire to become stronger. It uses its telekinesis to fly in the 3 minutes periodically as its magic power runs out in that time. The sword finds a floating air that it tries to kill instantly, but the monster embarrasses it with its tentacles and drains its magic points. Desiring this ability for himself, the sword cuts the tentacles floating air and immediately kills the monster, thus absorbing its crystal. When absorbing 3 new abilities, the sword realizes one of them is called floating air. This ability, combined with its telekinesis, allows it to fly for 5 times longer, and it uses it to kill a monster centipede. By doing this, the sword is informed that its abilities have evolved and that it has received 10 evolution points. The sword uses 5 ability points to gain an improved MP1, and the other 5 to improve attack 1. Although happy to have acquired 2 new abilities, the sword notices that it is sad that it does not have a user to handle it. On that night, the sword locates a cave that serves as a nest of goblins are on the outside, and most of those who are inside, gaining new abilities in part of the cave. The sword, using stealth, locates the Goblin King surrounded by goblins. Using its telekinesis catapult attack, the sword instantly kills the Goblin King and continues to kill the rest of the goblins. Once this has been resolved, the sword discovers that its mastery of the sword is at level 3. Once again euphoric, its bearer would be delighted to have such an impressive set of skills. Meanwhile, the black cat girl protects another slave from a whore through one of her necks and receives orders to stop. Because of her insubordination, she is reprimanded and has no permission to dine that night. The next morning, the black cat girl tries to retaliate against supervisor again, only to be ordered to lie on the floor by the supervisor. Later, she and the other slaves walk in a carriage through a forest where the black cat girl sings that she will become stronger and evolve. The sword, back to its pedestal, reflects that the further away it is from the place, the stronger types of monsters it finds. The places are divided into areas, the highest being 5. So far it has managed to deal with all the monsters in Area 4. With a lot of confidence, the sword challenges the boss of Area 5, combining his telekinetic and catapult and wind shooter skills, which by he appropriately calls the sword receives 30 experience points and some new skills, including instant regeneration 1. It is an ability that allows it to regenerate instantly at the cost of a ton of magic points. The sword then experiences the dimension of a bag that instantly stores the corpse of the glutton slime. Eventually, the sword would face the boss of the East, the Snake or Blair, and gain its ability to duplicate, which did not impress him. Then he would face the boss of the North of Area 5, an explosive turtle, his ability to divided thinking and use it to improve his earth magic. By doing this, he defeats the explosive turtle with an earth wall and celestial cut, and gains 2 new skills. The next day, the sword faces the western boss of Area 5, Tyrannosaurus Tooth. By spending 15 energy points, the sword improves its superior poisonous canine and exploits the weakness of the poison against it. After defeating the monster, the sword evolves again and gains new status. Anxious to face new stronger monsters, the sword goes to the forest beyond Area 5. When the sword lands on the ground, he discovers that his MP was being absorbed by it and is trapped there. During his stay there for a month, he cries out for someone to rescue him. The race they belong to, about, out of desperation, maximizes his culinary and fire skills. He raises his hammer stats to level 2. In the midst of this, it starts to rain and the sword begins a melancholic soliloquy about its current situation. Meanwhile, a 2-headed bear attacked the wagon, where the girl Black Cat and the slaves were. He destroys the wagon and kills some slaves, as well as a supervisor. This gives the girl Black Cat freedom, who, holding a staff, attacks the monster but is knocked down by his incredible power. Desiring more power, the sword calls the Black Cat, which finds it and uses it to defeat the 2-headed bear. After that, the slave dealer tries to make the Black Cat hand over the sword. For his abuse, kills the dealer contract that was tied to the Black Cat's collar, causing it then agrees to become the bearer of the sword. To evolve, since no Black Cat has ever been able to evolve. Moved by the story of the Black Cat, the sword agrees to train him and help him achieve his goal. The girl Black Cat then introduces herself as Fran, and as the sword has Fran calls her teacher, mainly because of her promise to make her stronger. In the present, Fran sleeps next to the teacher while they travel in a city surrounded by a stone wall, where a crowd of goblins plans to invade her. Narrates Fran's past and her desire to evolve, even if those of the Black Cat tribe have never been able to evolve. After killing a group of goblins, Fran uses water magic to clean herself and then clean the teacher of the bloodstains of the goblins. Fran then hears something and runs to the scene despite the teacher's request to find out what the problem is. Jumping into a merchant wagon surrounded by a large group of goblins, adventurer named Randall fights to protect the wagon with the merchant inside. Arriving at the scene, Fran quickly eliminates the goblins, while the goblin leader flees. Grateful for Fran's help, Randall asks if she would like a ride to Elessa. The teacher considers the offer a way for Fran to help him protect the wagon until they reach their destination. However, in addition, he believes that Randall is a good guy in general and makes Fran accept the offer. On the way to their destination, Randall explains to Fran increase in encounters with monsters on the great planet of the Wolf. Apparently, a territorial war broke out there, causing weaker monsters like goblins to take refuge on busy roads. Hearing this makes the teacher conclude that his actions in the area caused recent problems. Fran then asks if Randall knows about a common sword implanted in the area. However, Randall does not do so, to the teacher's displeasure. Randall then asks if Fran is a G-class adventurer, which makes her perplexed, as well as the teacher. Thus, Randall explains the monster classification system for her and those who hunt monsters, the adventurers. An explanation about the adventurers is then given by Randall, who mentions some famous ones. Wanting to become an adventurer, Randall explains that Fran will have to register in the Guild of Adventurers, where she will be able to sell her monster materials. Elsewhere, the leader of the goblins who fled after Fran's arrival, a shaman goblin summons several species of goblins and in the process begins to transform. Back at Fran's side, the carriage arrives in Elissa, and while Fran heads to the guild, teacher launches identify the weapons used by the adventurers. All the weapons were much stronger than him, and that made him sad. Fran then cheers up the teacher by praising him, which cheers him up, and they move on to the Guild of Adventurers. In the guild, the receptionist Nell fights to keep the facade of a receptionist while dealing with the rude behavior of the adventurers there. Fran then approaches Nell and asks to register as an adventurer. Fran is not fit to be an adventurer, but still allows her to take the simulated taken to an arena where the examiner, Donadrond, presents herself Fran with a loud and excited voice while using her ability to intimidate. When launching Identify Donadrond, the teacher is shocked by Donadrond's strength while the ogre prepares for the fight that is to come. At the beginning of the fight, Fran has difficulty defending herself from Donadrond, so the teacher casts support spells on her, temporarily increasing her STR and AGI. With the buffs and the combination of earth and fire magic, Fran with ends a dragon-like attack. When defeating Donadrond, Fran passes the exam. Accompanied by Donadrond, meets the guildmaster, Klimt, in his office. Klimt tries to find out where Fran learned her skills with sword spells, but following the teacher's advice, she refuses to answer. Understanding, Klimt tries to use Identify on Fran. However, it is cancelled due to the teacher's identity protection. Curious to know if she failed, Klimt assures Fran that she passed because the spirits are calm. The teacher then launches Identify Klimt and discovers her impressive stats and skills. At this moment, Neo enters the room and informs him that everything is in order, and Klimt allows Fran to receive her guild card. In a room where carved faces on stone form the walls, a large crystal is on a pedestal in the center of the room. Fran registers her mana signature on the crystal, and then chooses her class as a magic swordsman. Once this is resolved, Neo gives Fran her guild card and back at the reception. Fran delivers some of her monster materials to earn a profit of 195,000 gold. Of adventurers tries to extort money from Fran, but Neo intervenes and despises the group. One of the members tries to attack Neo, but Fran saves her. And the teacher suggests that they take the fight outside. However, the adventurers block the way. One of the adventurers despises Fran for being from the Black Cat tribe, which irritates her and makes her cut the adventurer's feet. Then she defeats the remaining adventurers with oscillation. Nelly refuses to heal the leader until he pays a large fine. After this was done, Fran leaves the guild, but a dwarf uses the teacher's divine vision to deduce that he is an intelligent weapon. While Fran and teacher on their backs explore the shacks around Elissa in search of equipment, they are approached by Garrus, who suggests that they visit his store to buy some. Teacher launches Identify Garrus to know his name, statistics and skills, and is impressed with them. Following teacher's advice, Fran is guided by Garrus to his store. On the way to the store, two men reprimand Fran jealous of being able to do business with Garrus, but he reveals that they plan to resell their equipment and refuses to cat, the weakest subversion of Fran's black cat inheritance. He hired him to kill Fran as revenge for ruining him. Duran, a murderer of the Blue Cat clan that was hired by August, disturbs Fran, making her take Teacher out of the bay. Ignorant of the story behind the Blue Cat clan, Fran explains the terrible past they have against her clan, the Black Cat. Holding Duran's credentials, August orders him to deal with Fran and move away to a safe distance. Fran's fight against Duran begins with him walking behind her and whispering if she is afraid of him. In Fran's brief moment of hesitation, Duran tries to attack her. Teacher warns Fran so that she can defend herself from the attack. The teacher discovers that Duran's sword was better than the great demons, and Fran confesses that Blue Cats hunted Fran and her parents. Gaining advantage over Fran, Duran recalls a time when he tortured a mother and daughter of Black Cats. Getting discouraged, Fran is reminded by the teacher of her final goal and compares Duran as inferior in relation to the great demon they faced. Overcoming her fear, Fran cuts off Duran's sword after learning the number of Black Cats he killed. Then she cuts off Duran's limbs and ends it by cutting off the top of his head. Before Fran can deal with the desperate August, a spirit of water, sent by Clint, interrupts her and summons her back to her office. There, Clint reveals that August's father, Count Holmes, had issued a prison sentence due to a family scandal. However, thanks to Fran dealing with the situation, Clint would take care of August from then on. Although disinterested in the details, Fran asks if she would be paid for her work, and Clint confirmed. Before Fran can leave Clint's office to claim her reward, she bumps into a voluptuous elf. Initially apologizing, the elf then hugs Fran, demanding that she call her Mom. While Fran struggles to free herself from the elf's embrace, Clint asks the elf named Amanda to stop it. The professor launches Identify Amanda and discovers that her statistics reflect her rank well. Amanda then details that she heard stories about Fran in the guild. Shortly before Fran leaves the office, Amanda affirms that they will talk again, but Fran rejects the comment. After Fran's first meeting with Amanda, she is chased by her, each instance in which they bump into each other being a coincidence. Succumbing to the pressure created by Amanda, Fran dispels her frustrations with Neo, who details that Amanda owns and manages an orphanage for children who have lost their parents. Appearing next to Neo, Amanda recites the word coincidence again, and Neo then informs that Clint wants to see her. At Clint's office, Clint offers Fran the choice of 2 crystals from his collection, in exchange for accepting a mission involving a dungeon called the Spider's Nest. However, with Fran's negotiating skills, she manages to rip off 5 from Clint for his disgust. Fran then discovers by Clint that the mission was imposed on her, not only because of unpleasant rumors about their relationship, but so that she completes a mission of her level. In addition, if Fran completes the mission, she will have access to the dungeon in Ulmut. At this moment, Amanda knocks on Clint's office door, invades the room and openly declares that she will accompany Fran. And Clint agrees to the offer. Then Fran sits in her room savoring a curry that the teacher made for her, and they discuss what to expect from the Spider's Nest. Their conversation then changes to the crystals given to them by Clint, of which 3 are D-class and 2 are C-class, all of which the teacher had never found before. Without wasting time, teacher absorbs the crystals, making his skills evolve and gaining 45 EP. When Fran arrives at the location designated for her mission, she is hugged by Amanda. Then the adventurer leader, Cruz of the Guardians, Azza, introduces himself Rig and introduces who will act as referees for the Ascent mission. Cruz then asks the other teams to introduce themselves, and the Dragon's Roar is the first, and throws Fran a look of disapproval. Freon, leader of the Forest Eyes group, goes next, then Amanda, and finally Fran. Upon hearing Fran's name, Crad becomes contentious in relation to claiming that she manipulated the GM to promote her quickly. He then recites the unpleasant rumors about the GM and calls an old woman, leading her to confront Crad and force him to apologize. Freed from Amanda's grip, Crad still refuses to believe that Fran manipulated the GM to reach his classification, but Fran continues to deny it. Cruz's explanation of the mission continues about Amanda's role in it, the details of the mission and the spider's nest dungeon where it occurs. They then move on, and the teacher mentions a tip from Garrus about how to generate crystals and monsters that help the guilds to function financially. In addition, while they head for their destination, Crad tries to make Fran fall into a river, but she dodges. In return, he is disciplined. These actions cause the entire group to be delayed. A camp is set up that night, and Fran is designated to be the first on duty. While she does this, Crad, still doubting Fran, provokes her into a duel to underestimate Teacher. Thus, Teacher suggests that Fran raise a barrier of wind and earth to watch over the monsters. Fran then throws the wind and earth zone, which surprises Freon before taking Teacher out. The two then duel, but Fran easily defeats Crad, intriguing Amanda, who invites her to a friendly duel. Fran agrees on the condition that Amanda stops following her if she wins, and Amanda decides that, if she wins, Fran will start calling her Mom. Determined not to lose, Fran informs the worried Teacher, who challenged to find out how long it would last against a ranker adventurer. However, Fran loses the duel, but not without offering a worthy challenge to Amanda, which allows Fran not to call her Mom. The next day, Fran formally apologizes to Cruz for using magic so close to the nearby forest during his battle against Amanda. Cruz minimizes the situation and reveals that he, along with also challenged Amanda, but confessed that they didn't last long against Eventually, the group arrives at the spider's nest, and Crumb uses his guild card to guarantee the passage. Upon entering the dungeon, the teacher warns Fran to be alert when she is inside. Inside the spider's nest dungeon with the other adventurers, Fran and the teacher notice their amazement at how impressive the place seemed to them. Crumb then explains the BF1 layout and organizes the group in their respective positions. Amanda tells Fran about her story with the dungeon and how it inspired her to open an orphanage. Their conversation ends when the trapped spiders surround her, but are quickly eliminated by the adventurers while Fran watches with Amanda. Upon reaching BF2 of the dungeon, wasp monsters are faced there, and as Fran asks Amanda the difference between arts, skills, and magic. While Amanda explains the arts, more wasp monsters attack the others. Powerful balance attack is used as an example of his explanation. On the third floor of the dungeon, Crumb warns the group that the floor is more centered on traps, and Crad's group accidentally activates while the other adventurers activate more traps. Amanda begins to explain to Fran about the skills. During Amanda's explanation, Egil uses his sense of traps to help him disarm the traps on the way forward. The referred skill intrigues Fran, who is interested in it, and the teacher agrees, observing the ingenuity of Teller. Moving on, Amanda continues her explanation of skills and talks about the different types of skills called unique and bonus. Amanda's explanation then returns to magic, while explains the four main elements associated with it. She also details how each element can be learned through rigorous training associated with each element. At the entrance that led to floor 4, the swarm of trapped spiders blocked their way. Freon's team leads an attack against the monsters while Crad's group explains the magic composed for Fran. Wood, ice, life, thunder is what impressed Fran the elements of this magic. Crumb decides that the group take a break on floor 4 of the basement, and everyone rests in a spacious room with fallen rubble and pillars. As a gesture of gratitude, Fran gives Amanda a bowl of the teacher's curry. As soon as they finish the curry, Amanda discusses two other elements, light and shadow, followed by skills and abilities related to this magic. Crad then admits that their time in the dungeon so far has been easy. Egil alert respectively about the strongest monsters and traps that await them ahead. Fran then persuades teacher to learn lightning magic and makes him maximize his wind magic skills to unlock storm and thunder magic. The journey through BF5 is as treacherous as they say, and its final goal is to reach the core of the dungeon, collect the crystals there and leave. However, in BF6, a new variant of the trap spiders ambush, and Genal is affected by a lethal poisoning. Thus, Fran uses the antidote of healing magic on him. Fran's identification reveals that the name of the spiders is Spider-Trix, and Crumb decides that everyone should retreat to BF5. With the help of Fran and Amanda, they ensure a way back to floor 5. However, on the way, Fran is pushed into a teleporter and a trap of forced disarmament. This instance teleports Fran, Victor, and Baltz the other part of the dungeon without the teacher. Waking up in a room with Victor and Baltz, Fran notices a large monster called Spider-Trix. Back to the teacher, none of his skills can locate Fran, leaving him in panic. Fran, Baltz, and Victor were all trapped in a room with the Spider-Trix. The remaining group discusses finding Fran's group and dealing with the Spider-Trix. In the end, Crumb joins the group of Cred, Riggy joins the group of Freon, and Amanda will continue alone with the teacher. At a safe distance, Amanda uses the wind magic noise collector to try to locate Fran by echolocation. To her disappointment, Amanda failed to find Fran and continues on while the teacher worries about Fran's well-being. While Amanda uses the noise collector again, the teacher uses to discover a skill he could use to help find Fran's location. The teacher decides to use his ability to summon minions, and following the system's announcer, he summons a Wolfonix that immediately attacks him. Alerted by the mysterious presence of the Wolfonix summoned, Amanda prepares only for the teacher to telepathically communicate with her to stop. He then explains that he is a friend of Fran and that the wolf was there to locate her. Despite being confused by the situation, Amanda agrees to retreat. Teacher discovers that the wolf was under the influence of a mana frenzy. The aforementioned disease was caused by the teacher using excessive mana to summon, making him feel intense pain and recognizing his summoner as a threat. Amanda then proposes that the teacher name the wolf as a possible way to tame him. Jet, which not only tames him, but also evolves with Jet him now into obeying his commands. The teacher makes Jet smell Fran so that he can locate her. As soon as Jet catches the smell of Fran, he takes the teacher to his location while Amanda follows him. Fran, on the other hand, along with Victor and Baltz, were at the mercy of the Trapacera spider and would be dominated by some Trapacera baby spiders. However, when calling the teacher's security, Fran gains the courage to fight companions from the spider cubs and using her hands moving and legs to the teacher's side, his group approaches Fran's location until they reach a dead end. Thus, Amanda throws a tornado spear that destroys the wall of the dead end, revealing a hidden path full of cobwebs and spiders. Teacher offers himself to enter the newly revealed passage first. Meanwhile, Fran continues his skirmish against the Trapacera spider. Their fight is interrupted by the teacher, who casts eternal fire and catapults himself through the Trapacera spider, thus reuniting with Fran. Trapacera spider had fled. Teacher casts greater healing and antidote on Fran. Teacher and Fran have a moment of connection that is interrupted by Amanda. After Jet is formally introduced to Fran, Amanda personally asks teacher why and with his permission, Fran reveals teacher's secret to her. After the great revelation, Fran heals Victor and Baltz, who were on the brink of death. Fortunately, the two did not remember the teacher's secret. Eventually, Fran's group was ambushed by a white owl, while the Trapacera still alive and fully recovered from the injuries suffered by the teacher. Fran, teacher, Amanda, Jet, Baltz, and Victor are confronted by a white, while hordes of Trapacera spiders ambush the side of crews. Fran mounted on Jet's back and accompanied by Amanda, who carried Baltz and Victor. While Baltz and Victor met Krad and Genon, Fran made Jet remaining adventurers trapped in the traps of the deceptive spider. Both Fran and Amanda used, respectively, spells of fire and wind to eliminate the remaining spiders around the area. The white owl monster turned out to be Talur, Riggy's relative. And
Nearby,
Fran decides to attack it,
spider
but the spider uses the webs of its cubs to create a shield for itself. Riggy then makes Talur heal everyone with his magic, and with that, deal with the Trapacera spider while he and the others take care of the truck spiders. Using a flame explosion, Fran destroys the Trapacera spider's shield with the enchanted teacher with fire papaya to kill the Trapacera spider. The Trapacera spider imprisons a sphere made up of Trapacera spiders so that it can escape. To escape the imprisonment, Fran and teacher launch the stun bolts, allowing them to free themselves sequentially and stun the Trapacera spider. The retaliation of the Trapacera spider causes Fran to be overloaded, triggering Amanda, who defeats her and destroys her crystal. Doing this annoys Fran, who wanted to end the Trapacera spider herself, which leaves Amanda discouraged by her actions. After locating a new passage, the group found where the core of the dungeon and the crystals were and proceeded to collect them. That night, Fran asks Amanda if she has ever met someone from the Black Cat tribe who has evolved, but she has not. She remembers some black cats who wanted to evolve and promises to support Fran. Back to Clint, the game's master praises Fran for his recent achievements in the excavation of the dungeon. Because of them, Clint allows Fran to attract the Ulmut mine and advises her to check her work classes as well. Fran does this with the help of Nell, and from the new classes available, she chooses Battle Mage. Then Fran visits Garrus's workshop to pick up the armor she ordered called Cat Armor. As the items in the set of armor were named, they received a divine blessing from the gods of the Fieries. Although apparently satisfied with the set of armor, the teacher has a discussion with Garrus about how the area of her abdomen was exposed. However, Garrus's explanation clarifies things about the preferential tastes of the feline type and demonstrates that even though it is exposed, it is protected thanks to the divine protection granted by the gods. It also happens that Garrus was going to Ulmut, but instead of going to the sea like Fran and teacher, he plans to cross the mountains. The next day, Fran is fired by all the friends she made in Ilessa, and after saying goodbye to everyone, she leaves on a jet. Meanwhile, Rig is shown as Clint's nephew, who was in charge of investigating reports made about the deceptive spider dungeon, which was supposedly connected to August Elsand. He developed a plan to divert the dungeon's control from a smaller Hades. Rig was also in charge of spying on Fran to see if she was a spy for Hades. This idea was discarded after hearing Tawa's report. Elsewhere, Fran sails in a jet to an unknown destination. Fran flies in teacher while heading to a flying island, only to be ambushed by a living dead monster. The anime ends with Fran falling into a house, where a man introduces himself as Janduviks, a necromancer.